there is a quiet kind of pain that many of us carry, a feeling that we are lost, uncertain, unsure of what we are meant to do in life. It is not loud or obvious. It does not always come with dramatic moments of crisis. Instead, it lingers in the background, a soft and persistent whisper asking, "Is this all there is? Am I missing something?" This feeling is not uncommon. In fact, it is one of the most shared human experiences. People of all ages, from teenagers just stepping into the world to adults deep into their careers, feel this weight. The world tells us that we should have a passion, something that makes our hearts race with excitement, something that gives our lives direction. But for so many, that passion remains hidden, and the search for it feels exhausting and endless. The truth is, passion is not something we simply stumble upon. It is not a treasure buried deep in the ground, waiting for us to uncover it with luck or persistence. It is not a lightning bolt that strikes suddenly, filling us with clarity and purpose. Passion is not found. It is understood. And understanding takes time. The world around us often makes this search harder than it needs to be. Society places enormous pressure on us to know what we want from an early age. From the moment we are old enough to dream, we are asked, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" The question seems innocent, but it carries an expectation that we should already have an answer, that we should already know. And if we do not, we feel as though something is wrong with us. Family expectations add another layer of complexity. Parents, siblings, teachers, and mentors often mean well, but their voices can become louder than our own. They tell us what is practical, what is respectable, what will bring stability. Sometimes in trying to guide us, they push us toward paths that do not feel like ours. We listen because we trust them, because we want to make them proud. But in doing so, we sometimes silence the small, uncertain voice inside us, the voice that wonders if there is something more. Then, there is the noise of the world itself. We live in a time where it is easier than ever to compare our lives to those of others. Social media shows us people who seem to have it all figured out. Artists who wake up every morning fueled by their creative drive. Entrepreneurs who turned their hobbies into thriving businesses. Travelers who have built lives of adventure. Their certainty, their confidence, their seemingly perfect paths make our own uncertainty feel even heavier. It makes us wonder, why do they know and I do not? What is wrong with me? But nothing is wrong. Feeling lost is not a failure. It is not a sign that you are broken or incapable. It is simply part of being human. The search for passion is difficult because it is not about picking a career or choosing a hobby. It is about something much deeper. It is about understanding yourself, not just what excites you in the moment, but what truly fulfills you. It is about peeling away the layers of expectations, fears, and self-doubt to uncover what actually matters to you. This journey is not easy, but it is also not hopeless. It does not happen all at once, and there is no single path that works for everyone. But what is important to remember is that being lost is not the end of the road. It is the beginning of something meaningful. This is not just another conversation about how to find your passion. It is a video for those who feel lost. This is for the ones who are searching, the ones who are unsure, the ones who feel the weight of expectations pressing down on them. You are not alone in this struggle. And more importantly, you are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. There is a belief that has taken deep roots in our minds. The idea that each person has one true passion, a singular purpose that they are meant to find. It is often described as a grand moment of realization, a sudden discovery that changes everything, as if passion is something waiting for us like a hidden treasure. This belief is comforting in some ways. It makes life seem clear, as if there is a path already laid out, and all we need to do is find it. But in reality, this idea is misleading, and for many, it creates more pain than clarity. Passion is not a single moment of discovery. It is not one fixed thing that once found stays the same forever. It is not a final destination. Instead, passion is something that shifts and grows with us, something that changes as we change. What excites us at one stage of life may not hold the same meaning years later. What once felt like a deep calling may become something we outgrow. And that is not failure, it is simply being human. There are countless stories of people who have followed many different callings in life. Some of the greatest artists, thinkers, and leaders were not defined by a single passion, but by a series of evolving interests. A writer who once dreamed of being a musician, a scientist who first saw herself as a painter, a teacher who became a psychologist, then later a business owner. Their paths were not straight. They did not find one thing and stay with it forever. Instead, they allowed themselves to change, to explore, to move in new directions without guilt or fear. When we hold on to the belief that we must find one passion, we put an enormous weight on ourselves. We feel as if we are failing if we have not yet found that one thing that makes everything clear. We hesitate to explore new paths because we fear they might not be the right one. But the truth is, there is no single right path. There are many, and each step we take teaches us something, even if it is just leading us toward the next step. Releasing the pressure to find one passion is not the same as giving up on purpose. It is about embracing the idea that our purpose is not fixed. It is about understanding that we are allowed to change, to grow, to redefine what matters to us. Passion is not something we need to hunt down or force into existence. It is something we uncover through experience, through trying, through living. If you feel lost because you have not found that one true calling, you are not lost at all. You are simply on a journey, and journeys are not meant to be straight lines. Every experience you have, every curiosity you follow, every shift in direction is part of the process. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are simply becoming. There is a quiet fear that follows many of us, a fear that often keeps us frozen in place. It is the fear of making the wrong choice, the fear of stepping in a direction that will lead to regret, the fear that if we choose incorrectly, we will waste time, miss opportunities, and somehow ruin our own future. This fear is powerful. It stops us from trying. It makes us hesitate. It keeps us waiting for certainty, for a sign, for some guarantee that we are making the right decision. But life rarely gives us that kind of certainty, and the longer we wait, the more we feel stuck. This fear comes from a deep belief that we only get one chance to get things right. We are taught from a young age that our choices define us. We are told to choose carefully, to think ahead, to be sure. And so, when we stand at a crossroads, we become paralyzed. What if we choose the wrong passion? What if we go down a path that does not fulfill us? What if, years from now, we look back and wish we had chosen differently? Regret is one of the things we fear most. We imagine a future version of ourselves looking back with disappointment. We think about lost time, about paths not taken. But what we often forget is that regret is not always a sign of a bad choice. It is simply a sign that we have grown. The person we are today is not the same person we will be in 10 years. And that is not failure. That is life. Many of our fears come from the world around us. Society tells us that success means following a clear path, reaching milestones in a certain order. Family expectations can add even more pressure. We do not want to disappoint the people we love. We do not want to make choices that seem risky or uncertain. Sometimes we make decisions based on what is safe, what is acceptable, what looks good to others, and in doing so, we silence the small voice inside of us that wants to explore, to try, to see what is possible. But what if we looked at choices differently? What if, instead of fearing the wrong decision, we saw every choice as part of the journey? Every step teaches us something. Even the paths that do not work out are not wasted. They show us what we do not want. They bring us closer to what feels right. No experience is truly lost if we allow it to shape us. The truth is, there is no perfect choice. There is no one right path. There is only movement, growth, and learning. The more we try, the more we understand ourselves. The more we step forward, the clearer things become. Passion is not something we find by standing still. It is something we discover through action, through living, through allowing ourselves to make choices without fear. If you are afraid of choosing wrong, know that you are not alone. Everyone feels this fear at some point, but you are not trapped. You are not running out of time. You are allowed to try, to change, to move in a new direction whenever you need to. You do not need to be certain before you begin. You only need to take the first step. Passion and purpose are often spoken about as if they are the same thing, but they are not. Passion is the fire that burns brightly inside of us. It is excitement, energy, and enthusiasm for something that sparks our interest. It is the feeling of being fully alive when we do something we love. But passion alone is not enough. It can burn brightly for a moment and then fade just as quickly. It can lead us in circles, chasing excitement without direction. Purpose, on the other hand, is deeper. It is not just about what excites us in the moment, but about what gives our life meaning. It is about creating something bigger than ourselves, something that lasts. Purpose is what keeps us going even when the excitement fades. It is what makes the struggle worth it. Many people spend their lives chasing passion, thinking that once they find it, everything will fall into place. But passion without purpose can feel empty. It can become a cycle of seeking pleasure without fulfillment. It is why some people switch careers, hobbies, or interests over and over again, always looking for something that will bring lasting happiness, but never quite finding it. Passion alone is like a wave. It rises, it crashes, and then we look for the next one. The most meaningful lives are built on something more than just passion. They are built on a connection between what we love and how we can use it to contribute to the world. When passion is tied to something bigger than ourselves, it transforms into something lasting. It becomes a force that drives us, not just for our own pleasure, but for the impact we can make. There are many people who have turned small interests into meaningful work, not because they were chasing excitement, but because they found a way to make it matter. A person who loves music might become a teacher, using their love for sound to inspire the next generation. Someone passionate about technology might create tools that help people in need. A writer might start by telling stories and then realize that their words can bring comfort and understanding to others. These people did not just follow passion, they connected it to something deeper. If you feel lost in your search for passion, perhaps it is because passion alone is not what you need. What brings excitement today may not last forever, but what brings meaning will stay with you. Instead of asking what makes you feel passionate, ask yourself what makes you feel useful. Ask yourself what problems in the world make you want to take action. Passion can guide you, but purpose will sustain you. You do not need to find one single passion that will last forever. You do not need to have it all figured out. What matters is moving toward something that makes you feel alive in a way that lasts, in a way that gives back, in a way that fills not just your own heart, but the hearts of others. When passion and purpose come together, that is when life feels truly meaningful. The things we believe we should love, the careers we think we should pursue, and the dreams we allow ourselves to have do not appear out of nowhere. They begin in childhood, shaped by the world around us. From a young age, we absorb ideas about what is valuable, what is possible, and what is expected of us. Sometimes these early messages help us discover who we truly are. Other times, they push us away from the things that once brought us joy. Many people grow up being told what they should want in life. Parents, teachers, and society set invisible rules about what is worth pursuing. A child who loves to draw might be encouraged to see it as just a hobby, not something serious enough to build a life around. A child who enjoys storytelling might be told to focus on something more practical. The things that once felt natural and exciting can become buried under expectations. We learn to ignore what brings us joy and instead focus on what brings approval. But passion does not disappear. It waits quietly beneath the surface, sometimes for years. There are many stories of people who rediscovered something they once loved in childhood. A doctor who spent decades in medicine might suddenly remember how much he loved painting as a child and pick up a brush again. A business executive might find an old notebook filled with stories she wrote when she was young and realize that writing has always been a part of her. These passions never left. They were simply put aside in the name of responsibility, practicality, or fear. It is not only our families that shape our passions, but also the culture we grow up in. Some cultures value stability over creativity, while others encourage risk and exploration. Some communities prioritize academic success, while others nurture artistic or athletic talents. The messages we receive about what is worth pursuing are deeply influenced by the world we are raised in. Sometimes these influences align with who we truly are, but other times they lead us away from what would make us happiest. For those who feel lost, looking back at childhood can offer important clues. What did you love doing when no one was watching? What made you lose track of time? What did you do for no other reason than the joy it brought you? These small details from the past can reveal what has always been inside of you. The things that made you happy as a child were not chosen for status or approval. They were chosen because they felt right. The search for passion is not always about finding something new. Sometimes it is about remembering something old. The child who loved to build things might find fulfillment in engineering. The one who loved taking care of animals might feel most alive working with nature. The things that called to us when we were young often still call to us now. The challenge is allowing ourselves to listen. No one is born without passion. It is just that over time, it can get buried under responsibilities, fears, and the expectations of others. But it is never too late to go back and uncover what was always there. The past can be a guide, not a limitation. The child you once were still lives within you, and they may have the answers you have been looking for. It is easy to feel lost in a world that constantly tells us who we should be. From the time we are young, we are surrounded by expectations. Schools teach us what success looks like. Families encourage us to follow safe and respectable paths. Social media fills our minds with images of people who seem to have found their perfect passion, living lives that appear effortless and fulfilling. In this constant noise, it becomes difficult to hear our own voice. One of the greatest barriers to discovering passion is comparison. We look at others and believe they have it all figured out. We see someone excelling in music and think we should have started earlier. We see a person building a business and feel like we are falling behind. When we compare, we do not see the full picture. We see only the highlights, the polished successes, not the years of struggle and uncertainty. This makes us question our own journey. Instead of exploring what excites us, we become focused on what will make us look successful in the eyes of others. There's also a common belief that passion must be impressive. If something does not lead to money, recognition, or a clear career path, we assume it is not worth pursuing. But passion does not always come with a clear reward. Some passions exist simply because they bring us joy, because they make us feel alive, because they give us peace. The moment we start valuing passion only for its usefulness, we risk losing it entirely. Many people spend years trying to force themselves into careers that look good on paper, but feel empty inside. They choose stability over curiosity, prestige over authenticity. They ignore what excites them because they worry it will not lead anywhere. But passion is not always about having an end goal. It is about following what sparks something inside of you and trusting that it has meaning, even if you do not know where it will lead. For those who feel overwhelmed by expectations, the challenge is learning to tune out the noise and listen inward. One way to do this is by paying attention to moments of deep interest. What are the things that pull you in when no one is watching? What do you read about when you have free time? What activities make you forget to check your phone? These quiet interests are often where passion begins. Another way to escape the weight of comparison is to step away from external influences, even for a short time. Taking a break from social media, avoiding conversations that focus only on achievements, and allowing yourself to simply explore without judgment can create space for true curiosity. Sometimes passion is not found in searching harder, but in allowing yourself to stop searching and just be present with what naturally excites you. It takes courage to ignore the expectations of the world and choose a path that feels right for you. But in the end, passion is not about impressing others. It is about finding what makes life feel meaningful to you. The more you let go of the pressure to be like everyone else, the easier it becomes to hear your own voice. And when you finally listen, you may realize that the answers were inside you all along. There is something soothing about the familiar. It feels safe to stay where things are predictable, where we know what to expect. The routines of life wrap around us like a warm blanket, making it easy to believe that staying in place is better than stepping into the unknown. But comfort can also become a trap, one that keeps us from discovering what truly excites us. Fear of uncertainty is powerful. It whispers that if we try something new, we might fail. It reminds us of past mistakes and tells us that the risk is not worth it. It convinces us that it is better to stay with what we know, even if it does not make us happy. Over time, this fear builds walls around us, making the world outside seem distant and unreachable. We start to believe that passion is something other people find, that we were not meant for it. But passion rarely comes to those who do not seek it. There is a difference between real limitations and the ones we create in our minds. Some barriers are external: financial struggles, responsibilities, physical constraints. These are real and require care and patience to navigate. But many limitations are imagined. We assume we are not talented enough. We believe it is too late to start. We convince ourselves that if we cannot be great at something right away, it is not worth trying. These thoughts are not truths. They are fears disguised as wisdom. They keep us from even taking the first step. The truth is that passion often waits just beyond our comfort zone. It does not arrive fully formed. It starts as curiosity, as a small spark that only grows when we allow ourselves to step into something unfamiliar. It might begin as a book we read on a whim, a conversation that opens a door in our minds, or a simple moment of inspiration that we choose to follow instead of ignoring. The world is full of undiscovered interests, but we cannot find them if we refuse to look. The good news is that change does not have to be drastic. Small steps are enough. Trying something new does not mean abandoning everything we know. It means allowing ourselves to explore without expectation. It means giving ourselves permission to be beginners. It means understanding that the discomfort of learning something new is not a sign to stop, but a sign that we are growing. If fear of change has been holding you back, know that you are not alone. Fear is natural, but it does not have to control you. The next time you feel stuck, ask yourself what is truly stopping you. Is it a real limitation, or is it a story you have told yourself? If it is the latter, challenge it. Give yourself the chance to step outside of what is comfortable, even just for a moment. You may find that the thing you were afraid of is not as scary as you thought. And on the other side of that fear, you may find something even greater. Yourself, fully alive, exploring the endless possibilities that were always waiting for you. Many people spend their lives searching for passion, as if it is a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. They believe that one day they will stumble upon something that will instantly light up their soul, something that feels so natural and effortless that it will erase all doubt. But passion does not appear fully formed. It is not something we find. It is something we build. It begins with action. Most people do not wake up one morning knowing exactly what they love. Instead, they take small steps. They try things. They follow a quiet curiosity, even if it feels insignificant at first. Over time, what starts as an interest deepens. What begins as effort turns into skill, and through that process, passion takes shape. It is not a single moment of discovery, but a slow unfolding shaped by experience, practice, and patience. The mistake many people make is assuming that if something does not feel exciting right away, it must not be their passion. They believe that if they are not instantly good at something, it is not meant for them. But passion grows with time. It needs space to develop. A musician does not feel passion for their instrument after a single lesson. A writer does not feel passionate about words before struggling to find the right ones. A scientist does not love their field before spending years lost in experiments and questions. The beginning is often the hardest part. Many people quit before passion has time to grow. They compare themselves to those who have already spent years practicing, and they convince themselves they are not talented enough. They do not realize that talent is not what creates passion. It is the other way around. Passion is what makes people willing to struggle through the challenges, to keep going when things are difficult. And that persistence over time creates excellence. Passion is not given to us. It is built by those who are willing to stay, to put in the work, to trust that what feels small today can turn into something meaningful tomorrow. It does not matter if the first steps feel unimportant. It does not matter if it takes years. What matters is that you begin, that you stay long enough for passion to take root, and that you allow yourself to build something that, one day, will feel like it was always meant to. Many people believe that passion arrives like a flash of lightning, sudden and unmistakable. They wait for a moment of absolute certainty, thinking they will just know when they have found what they are meant to do. But real life is not that simple. Passion does not always announce itself clearly. It does not always feel obvious or overwhelming at first. It often arrives quietly, in pieces, in moments that do not seem important until we look back and see how they shaped us. The journey to passion is rarely neat. It is filled with uncertainty, doubt, and hesitation. People try things, lose interest, try again. They make choices that do not feel perfect and take steps in directions that seem unclear. Sometimes they abandon something only to return to it years later and see it differently. This messiness is not failure. It is how passion is built. It is through the experience of trying, struggling, and learning that clarity slowly begins to form. Many of the people who now seem deeply passionate about their work did not begin with certainty. A writer might have started with small, hesitant attempts at storytelling, unsure if their words were any good. A musician might have played for years without knowing if their music had meaning. A scientist might have followed curiosity before realizing that curiosity itself was enough to keep them going. Passion often grows in the background, revealing itself only when we have already spent time doing the thing, when we have stayed with it long enough for it to matter. There is beauty in stumbling rather than searching. When we let go of the pressure to find the perfect answer right away, we open ourselves to unexpected discoveries. A hobby that once felt small can turn into something life-changing. A random opportunity can lead to a lifelong calling. The most meaningful passions often begin this way, not as something we chase, but as something that quietly finds us when we are open enough to notice. No one needs instant clarity. There is no single moment when everything suddenly makes sense. What matters is that we continue moving, exploring, and allowing time to shape our understanding. The path is meant to unfold slowly. And if we trust that process, we may find that passion was never something we had to search for. It was something that was always waiting for us to grow into it. Curiosity is where it all begins. Before we know what we are good at, before we ever think about careers or long-term plans, there is a small spark inside us that simply wants to know more. It is that quiet voice asking questions like, what if, or how does this work? Or I wonder what it would be like to try this. Passion is not something we start with. It is something that grows from this simple, innocent need to explore. As children, curiosity is natural. We play without fear. We ask endless questions. We touch, build, break, and imagine without thinking about what it means or where it is going. But somewhere along the way, many of us are taught to put that curiosity away. Schools reward answers, not questions. Careers are chosen not for joy, but for security. We are told to be productive, to be practical, and to grow up. Slowly, the space for playful exploration becomes smaller until it nearly disappears. When curiosity is locked inside boxes of structure and routine, we stop listening to what excites us. We begin to believe that life must follow a straight line, and if we do not already know where we are going, then we are behind. But in truth, passion rarely grows in straight lines. It grows in loops and detours. It grows in places where we are allowed to follow a trail just because it interests us. It grows when we return to play. Play is not only for children. It is the heart of creative discovery at every age. A scientist plays with ideas, testing and reimagining them. An artist plays with color and form. An entrepreneur plays with possibilities, building something from nothing. Play is how we learn to love the process instead of obsessing over the result. It gives us permission to try without needing to be perfect. When people say they cannot find their passion, it is often because they have forgotten how to play. They have stopped giving themselves permission to try things just for the sake of it. They wait to feel ready or to be good at something before even beginning. But passion does not wait for expertise. It waits for curiosity. It waits for us to come alive again in the presence of something new. Something that lights a small fire inside and invites us to keep going. To rediscover curiosity, one must start very small. Try reading about something you know nothing about. Visit a place you have never been. Make something with your hands, not to impress, but just to see what happens. Ask yourself what you used to enjoy doing before anyone told you what you should enjoy. Let your mind wander without needing a goal. In these quiet moments, curiosity will slowly return, and with it, the seeds of something much deeper. What matters most is not whether you find the right thing quickly, but whether you allow yourself to stay open. Curiosity does not always give you answers, but it always gives you direction. And sometimes, that is all you need to begin. There's a quiet beauty in understanding that passion, like everything else in life, moves in seasons. Just as the earth shifts from spring to summer, and then to autumn and winter, our inner lives also move through phases. What we love, what we care about, what brings us alive, these things are not meant to stay the same forever. And yet, many people carry the silent fear that if their passion changes, something is wrong with them. But nothing is wrong. In fact, something deeply human is happening. We change because we are growing. We evolve because we are living. The interests we held close in our 20s may not hold the same weight in our 40s. The dreams we chased when we were young may make space for new dreams we could not have imagined back then. This is not a sign of failure. It is a sign that we are listening to our life. It can be difficult, of course. Letting go of something that once felt like part of your identity can feel like losing a piece of yourself. You may wonder if you are giving up or turning your back on something important. But the truth is, we are not meant to cling to every season. We are meant to learn from them. A flower that bloomed in spring does not mourn when winter comes. It simply rests, prepares, and trusts that something new will come again. Across the world, and in many cultures, there are stories of people who changed course long after others said it was too late. A nurse who became a painter in her 60s. A teacher who turned to writing novels after retiring. A businessman who left his company to work with young people in his community. These are not stories of loss. They are stories of renewal. Scientific research supports this idea. Studies in adult development show that people often go through what psychologists call meaning shifts. The things that gave them purpose in one stage of life may no longer fulfill them later, and that is natural. It is the mind and heart adapting to the reality of where we are now, not where we once were. If you are feeling a quiet guilt about walking away from an old passion, I want you to know this. That passion did its job. It taught you something. It brought you joy or challenge or direction when you needed it most. And now, if your heart is leading you somewhere new, you can thank that old path with love and still move forward. You are not betraying anything by growing. You are being honest. And honesty is a form of love, especially when it is directed inward. New passions often wait just beyond the edges of the familiar. They are not always loud or clear. Sometimes they arrive in whispers, a small interest, a gentle tug, a question that keeps returning. Follow that. Let your life unfold as it needs to. Let your passions rise and fall like the seasons. There is no rule that says you must hold on to one thing forever. There is only the quiet truth that whatever lights your soul today is enough. And when that light changes, let it. You are allowed to change with it. Passion is often imagined as something light and joyful, something that flows without effort, like falling in love. But the truth is far more complex and far more human. The road to passion is not always smooth. Sometimes it is filled with questions, setbacks, and long nights of doubt. And that does not make it any less meaningful. In fact, it may be what gives it meaning in the first place. There is a quiet myth that if you are truly passionate about something, it will always feel easy, that it will always excite you, always energize you, always feel right. But those who have walked the path deeply know that real passion often asks more of us than comfort does. It asks us to stay even when we feel unsure. It asks us to grow even when we feel like giving up. It asks us to keep going even when we are met with resistance. Struggle, though painful, can be clarifying. When we face obstacles, we begin to see what really matters to us, what we are willing to work through, what we cannot stop thinking about even when it is difficult. That is often where passion takes root, not in the moments of ease, but in the moments we keep showing up, even when we are not sure why. There is deep psychological research showing that passion and resilience are closely connected. Studies by psychologist Angela Duckworth, for example, have shown that those who develop grit, long-term perseverance, often discover deep passion through the process of enduring hardship and learning from it. Passion is not a single moment of discovery. It is the slow unfolding that happens when you stay curious, committed, and willing to learn, especially when things go wrong. We can see this in the stories of people from many walks of life. There is the story of Maya Angelou, whose early life was marked by pain, silence, and struggle. Yet she became a voice for millions, not in spite of her hardship, but because she allowed it to shape her path. There is the story of Nelson Mandela, who spent 27 years in prison. During that time, he did not abandon his passion for justice. He let it deepen through unimaginable suffering. And when he emerged, it was with more strength, more clarity, and more purpose than ever before. You do not need to compare your struggles to theirs. Every story is different. But what remains the same is this truth. Struggle does not mean you are lost. Resistance does not mean you are on the wrong path. Sometimes it is the very sign that you are doing something real, something meaningful, something that is shaping you in ways you cannot yet see. So if you are in a hard moment right now, do not turn away from it too quickly. Ask what it is trying to teach you. Ask what it is uncovering. Sometimes passion reveals itself not in the spark of inspiration, but in the fire of challenge. It asks you to show up with your whole self, even when you feel tired or afraid. And when you do that, even quietly, even imperfectly, you are building something real. You are shaping a relationship with your passion that will last. Not because it was always easy, but because it was honest. Because you met it not only in light, but also in shadow. And that is a love worth growing. There is something deeply human about the desire to find passion. We often imagine it as something personal, something we chase for our own happiness. But the real journey of passion becomes fuller when it is tied not only to what we love, but to how we give. True passion does not end with the self. It expands when it touches others. In the beginning, we might pursue a path because it feels exciting or natural. We may enjoy the process, the challenge, the sense of growth, but often that feeling can fade or shift. And it is in those quiet moments, when the initial fire dims, that something surprising can happen. We begin to ask not just what we love doing, but why it matters. We begin to look outward, not just in. When we find a way to connect our passion to something bigger than ourselves, it begins to take root in a different way. The work becomes less about personal success and more about meaning, more about impact. And this shift, however small, can make all the difference. Research in positive psychology tells us that people who feel they are making a meaningful contribution experience deeper and more lasting forms of fulfillment. Not just fleeting pleasure, but something quieter, steadier. Psychologist Adam Grant has shown in his studies that even small acts of service in our work and daily life increase our motivation and help us reconnect to our core values. It is not always about grand gestures or changing the world overnight. Sometimes it is about showing up for someone. Sometimes it is about using your skill to lift another person. Sometimes it is simply the feeling that what you do, no matter how ordinary it seems, has made someone's day better. There are many stories of people who discovered passion through the act of giving. A woman who started writing in her journal during a hard time and later used her words to help others heal. A teacher who stayed in a struggling school because he saw the potential in his students, even when the work was exhausting. A retired scientist who began mentoring young people, rediscovering his love for his field by watching it through their eyes. Their stories remind us of something gentle but powerful, that passion is not only found in what excites us, it is found in what connects us. It is deepened by service. It is shaped by purpose. It is sustained by knowing that what we do in some small way matters to someone else. If you are searching for passion or wondering where it has gone, try looking toward the people around you. Ask how your curiosity, your strength, or even your struggles might be of help. Let that be the place where your passion takes root again. Let that be the space where your heart expands. Because passion, when shared, becomes more than energy. It becomes legacy. It becomes light passed on. And in that light, both you and the world begin to grow. There is a quiet kind of pain that lives in the hearts of many people. It is not the pain of failing, but the pain of feeling like you do not deserve to try. This feeling has many names, but most often we call it self-doubt. And when it deepens, when it lingers in the mind too long, it becomes something heavier. It becomes imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome whispers that you are not enough, that you are pretending, that others belong more than you do. Even when you care deeply, even when you work hard, even when you are doing well. It creates a kind of distance between who you are and who you think you should be. And in that space, many people slowly step away from their passion. But here is the truth. Feeling like an imposter is not a sign that you are wrong or unworthy. It is often a sign that you care, that you are stretching into something new, that you are growing into a version of yourself you cannot quite see yet. Researchers like Dr. Pauline Clance, who first studied this feeling decades ago, found that imposter syndrome affects people across all fields. Artists, scientists, writers, teachers, students, even people at the top of their careers quietly carry this burden. What unites them is not their weakness. It is their humility, their high standards, their deep desire to do something meaningful. Self-doubt is not a flaw to get rid of. It is a feeling to walk with. Sometimes it tells us to slow down, to prepare better, to stay grounded. But it does not need to stop us. It only asks to be understood. Many people believe that passion must come with total confidence. But real passion is often born out of uncertainty. It grows in the cracks between fear and courage. You do not need to feel sure in order to begin. You do not need to feel talented in order to try. You only need to care enough to keep showing up. There are stories of people who lived with doubt but chose to act anyway. A young woman who thought she had nothing original to say but kept writing poems in her notebook. Years later, her words helped others feel seen. A man who started learning music in his 40s, never feeling quite talented enough, but still finding joy in each note. These are not stories of fame. They are stories of quiet resilience, of choosing to belong to your passion even when your mind tells you otherwise. If you are feeling like you are faking it, I want to tell you something very gently. You are not faking your passion just because you feel unsure. Passion is not proven by how confident you sound. It is revealed by how much you care, even when it is hard, even when no one sees, even when the results come slowly. So do not wait to feel ready. Do not wait to be perfect. Instead, walk hand in hand with your doubt and let it witness your courage. Let it see you try and try again. Let it watch you stay close to what you love, even on the days it feels far away. Because you are not alone, and you are not an imposter. You are a human being growing into something beautiful, and that in itself is more than enough. There is a quiet truth about passion that we often overlook. We imagine it as a personal journey, something discovered alone, shaped in solitude. But in reality, passion almost never grows in isolation. It needs space, it needs warmth, and more than anything, it needs people. When you are surrounded by those who truly see you, something shifts inside. You begin to feel less strange for caring deeply. You begin to speak about your ideas without shrinking, and slowly, your passion becomes more real. It begins to have roots. In a study from Stanford University, researchers found that people are more motivated and more resilient when they feel supported by others. It is not about needing constant validation. It is about being witnessed. It is about being held in a space where curiosity is safe and experimentation is welcome. Passion, like any living thing, grows best where it feels nourished. Supportive communities do not just encourage us, they shape us. They show us what is possible. They help us refine what matters. Sometimes a simple conversation with someone who understands can unlock years of confusion. Sometimes seeing someone else walk a path with courage reminds us that we can too. One woman I worked with had always loved photography, but she never called herself an artist. She doubted whether it was real or worthy. But when she joined a small local group of women who met to share their creative work, everything changed. Week by week, she grew braver. Not because she became suddenly talented, but because she was no longer alone. Her passion deepened in that quiet room, not because she was praised, but because she was seen. Mentorship is another powerful form of community. A good mentor does not give you answers. They ask the right questions. They reflect your strengths back to you when you forget them. Sometimes they simply remind you that it is okay to begin. In fields as diverse as science, the arts, and entrepreneurship, studies have shown that mentorship increases confidence, persistence, and clarity. Not just in skills, but in identity. Friendships, too, hold a quiet kind of magic. Not every friend needs to share your passion, but the ones who support your joy, who ask about your progress, who celebrate your small wins, they become part of the story. They are the ones who remind you when you forget why you began in the first place. If you feel like you are searching for your people, know this: your tribe does not need to be large. It needs to be kind. It needs to be curious. It needs to allow you to be both a beginner and a dreamer at once. Start by looking for spaces where curiosity is alive. It might be a book club, a writing group, a local workshop, a forum online. Even one voice saying "me too" can light a spark. And when you find that space, nurture it. Show up, listen, share, encourage others. The more you give to that community, the more it will give back. Your passion is not meant to live in the dark. It is not a secret to hide or a burden to carry alone. It is a living thing, and like all living things, it needs connection. So if you are searching for clarity, or if your passion feels quiet or uncertain, do not just look inward. Look outward. Look around you. Find the people who lift you. Find the spaces that welcome you. That is where your passion begins to rise. Because the truth is, we do not just find passion, we grow it. And we grow it best when we are not alone. There is a quiet relief that comes when we stop trying to arrive and begin allowing ourselves to simply be on the way. Passion, as we often imagine it, can feel like a single shining thing we must find. A calling that arrives all at once, fully formed, but the truth is much softer. Passion is not a destination. It is a journey. And more often than not, it unfolds in moments we do not even recognize until much later. You are not behind. You are not lost. You are simply moving forward in a way that is deeply your own. Many people carry a silent weight, the feeling that they are late to their lives, that they should have figured it all out by now, that everyone else has already found their purpose, their passion, their place, but research and real life show us something different. Studies from positive psychology and human development tell us that our sense of meaning evolves over time. Our passions are not fixed. They grow, they change shape, they sometimes disappear only to return in a new form. When we let go of the pressure to be certain, we make space for something more important. We begin to listen. We begin to notice what makes us come alive. Not because we are chasing clarity, but because we are allowing curiosity. And that is where true passion begins, in the willingness to follow the thread, even when the pattern is not yet clear. There is beauty in the uncertain path. It teaches us patience. It reminds us that not everything meaningful can be rushed, and that some of the most powerful discoveries come slowly, gently, over time. Like how rivers shape stone, not by force, but by persistence. One woman once told me that for most of her life she thought she had no passion. She went from job to job, feeling like something was missing. But in her 50s, she started volunteering at a community garden. She found joy in the soil, in the conversations with strangers, in the small routines that made things grow. She never expected it to lead anywhere. But over time, she began teaching workshops. Then she started a local nonprofit to help children learn to grow their own food. When I asked her if this was her passion, she smiled and said she never went looking for it. She just kept saying yes to what felt real. That is what it means to embrace the journey. It is trusting that you are not late to anything. It is knowing that the timeline you carry in your head may not be the one your soul is following. It is accepting that what you are growing might take longer to bloom, but that does not make it any less real. So, wherever you are in your search for passion, I want you to hear this. You are not falling behind. You are not doing it wrong. You are learning in your own way, and that way is worthy. You may not have all the answers right now. You may still be unsure of what excites you most, but that does not mean your path is empty. It means it is still unfolding. You are not unfinished. You are in motion, and that motion is sacred. The search for passion is not something to be feared or rushed. It is a tender act of becoming. And every step you take, even the quiet ones, even the confusing ones, is part of that becoming. So breathe. Stay curious. Keep going. Let your journey be slow. Let it be honest. Let it be yours. There is something deeply human about wondering if we are falling behind. We look at others and think they have found their path while we are still searching for ours. It can feel lonely. It can feel like we are doing life wrong somehow. But I want to tell you something that is not just comforting, but true. You are exactly where you need to be. Struggling to find passion is not a flaw. It is not a sign that you are lost. It is not something to be ashamed of. It is, in fact, one of the most natural parts of becoming who you are. Research in developmental psychology tells us that the sense of purpose does not always arrive early in life. It often appears through a slow and winding process, shaped by experiences, people, and the quiet work of paying attention to ourselves. There is no single moment where everything becomes clear. There is only the unfolding. It is easy to think that passion should be loud and immediate, that it should arrive in a flash of inspiration and sweep us off our feet. But real passion, the kind that lasts, is usually quieter than that. It often begins in uncertainty. It grows through small decisions. It asks for time, for space, for patience. You do not have to figure everything out right now. You do not have to have a clear plan, and you do not have to compare your path with anyone else's. The pace of your journey is not too slow. The questions you are asking are not wrong. They are the questions of someone who is awake to life. Some of the most fulfilled people you will ever meet did not always know what they were meant to do. They felt doubt. They tried things that did not work. They started over. And in that process they grew, not just toward passion, but toward themselves. In one well-known long-term study from Stanford, psychologists found that the idea of having a fixed passion can actually discourage people from exploring new things. It can make them feel like failures if they do not feel an immediate spark. But those who believe that passion is something we grow into through time and effort and curiosity are more resilient. They keep going. They give themselves permission to learn and evolve. And that is what makes all the difference. So if you are still searching, you are not behind. You are becoming. If you feel unsure, that is not a weakness. It is a sign that you are still listening. If your path feels unclear, trust that it is still being written. There is wisdom in not rushing to find the final answer. There is courage in continuing to walk, even when the destination is not in sight. Where you are now is not a mistake. It is not a detour. It is not the wrong place. It is your place. And what you learn here in this moment of waiting and wondering will shape what comes next in ways you cannot yet see. So breathe, be kind to yourself. Let go of the pressure to have everything mapped out. You are not missing anything. You are not less than. You are not late. You are simply on your way, and your way is enough. Let this be your reminder that you do not have to force anything. Passion is not a door that swings open all at once. It is a path that gently unfolds beneath your feet. And every step you take, even in uncertainty, is part of that unfolding. You are exactly where you need to be. And from here, everything is still possible.